Hey all, Zook here, back with another boss guide for Dark Souls 2. This time we'll check out the Ruin Sentinels, Yahim, Reese, and Alicia. This fight in particular is the biggest DPS check that you'll encounter on your way to light 4 primal bonfires, as you need to be able to dish out around 2000 damage within 15 seconds to really make this fight go smoothly. So in this video, we'll take a look at the common move set for all 3 Sentinels, and then discuss strategies you can use to isolate the enemies, take them out safely. Going over the stats, Sentinels are going to be weak to lightning and strike weapons in particular. They don't have any particular resistance to any elements, but they will take reduced damage from slash weapons. The buffs that you would use for this fight could be a gold pine resin, which you can find up the stairs from McDuff. And this is the first fight where I always use a bright bug. In my inventory, I'll have my healing items, and then I also put in a homeward bone in case I find myself dropping off the platform before I want to. For my weapons, I'm going to make sure that I have a certain setup. Before you take on the boss, upgrade your weapon. In my case, the rapier is at +8, and honestly, I could have had it at +10 since I've already been to Brightstone Seldora in this playthrough. I put the rapier in the right hand, and then I put some form of ranged weapon in the left hand. I have both staff and bow in the left hand, since I'll cast Fall Control, and then I also want to use the bow to do range damage from the safety of that entrance platform. Now, there are 3 rings that you definitely want for the fight. Ring of Blades and Old Leo for extra damage, Chloranthy for extra stamina, and then the 4th slot is up to you. I have the Stone Ring just because I use it on the run-up to the boss. You might consider putting on Silver Serpent Ring so you don't need to switch after the fight, or you could put on Silver Cat Ring if you don't have the ability to cast Fall Control. And speaking of that, I'm going to have Fall Control attuned for this fight. The drop-off from the first platform will do a couple hundred points of fall damage, so I like to cast Fall Control at the beginning before I go through the fog gate, and then not have to worry if I get knocked off the platform at a bad time. Having that chained fall damage might kill you if you get knocked off. But with all of that, let's take a look at the common moveset that's shared by all 3 enemies in the boss fight, and then I'll go through strategies for both melee and ranged builds to take out this boss. Alrighty, so for this fight, I'm going to show you the optimal way to take down Sentinels. This will be one at a time, and as I'd mentioned earlier, I use Fall Control before going in, just in case we accidentally fall off the ledge. Apply the Bright Bug first, since it's going to last longer than a resin. Then we go into the fight, and the first thing I do, sprint and go in a circle around the Sentinel. I go counterclockwise, so my back is against the wall and I won't accidentally roll off. Either way, I'm going to get 3 to 4 punishes before this Sentinel attempts to attack another time. And it's pretty much guaranteed to be a slam, stab, or swipe attack. I get the power swipe here. Yahim doesn't really do spin attacks, and she doesn't really do the jump attacks either. Now, once Yahim's finished off, run over to this corner and start shooting arrows. Any form of projectile will do, just note that crossbow bolts will shoot from so low that they actually hit the platform, and then if you choose to use magic, back off just a step or two before using the magic, because magic does tend to make your character step forward and might make you fall off the ledge. But doing a little bit of damage before Alicia jumps up, if you've upgraded your weapons enough, then you should be able to one cycle her. And then do the exact same for Reese, and you should be good. Now, if you weren't able to one cycle Alicia, it's no big deal. Just dodge one attack the same way that you did with Yahim, but then back off to the corner, similar to what I just did right there with Reese, where I backed off to the corner and then just tried to fight him properly. You would do that for the entire Reese fight if you weren't able to safely get back to that corner before Reese jumps up. But here, we'll look at a 2 Sentinel strategy. So for this one, I'm actually keeping the rapier at +4 just to make sure that the fight lasts long enough that I can actually show you how to maneuver around. But when I say show you how to maneuver around, that's going to be because if you have to face 2 Sentinels at the same time, you should not be on the on the upper platform. You should be down below where you have space to maneuver. So we're going to take out Yahim the same as before. I believe it takes 3 cycles, because it's this first one, and then Yahim gets off 2 different attacks before we're able to finish her. But as soon as she finishes off, then I'm going to drop down and I'm going to attack Alicia, and I'm only going to let her attack twice before I need to be on guard. So that's her second attack, and I can punish it, and then now Reese is down. So because Reese is down, I lock off. Fight this fight locked off, because if you have your camera locked on, it will involuntarily move on you because the Sentinels are so mobile. So you really want to make sure that you have both Sentinels on the screen, run backwards, kite them around, and you want to stay under the pillars because the Sentinels can break the pillars. And you want the pillars to be broken specifically because of what's about to come up here. When Reese is going to power swipe me, I actually almost got hit there just because of the pillar. So if the pillars are broken, you can roll over the spot where they used to be, no problems. So just kind of adds that extra layer of mobility if you allow them to break the pillars. The other thing that I'm doing is I roll in, attack once, and roll out. Or walk in, but I attack once and roll out, and I'm even keeping it one hand just to make sure that I get these attacks off quick. And here is the ideal situation. Notice that they're both lining up to do an attack at the same time. Doesn't even have to be the same attack, but if they're lining up to do the exact same, or to do a attack at the same time, because their attacks track so much, they'll typically end up next to each other just like this. And if you position yourself correctly, you're able to get in double the damage because you're able to damage both of them, especially if you have a huge weapon like a great club or something. But from here, just finish off the fight as normal, and there you go. So the other neat thing that happens when you get them next to each other is that you can kind of combo that and keep getting them next to each other, just because they'll typically start their attacks at the same time, just because they're at the same aggro range. So that's the ideal situation. And just note, if you're doing a magic-based strategy, these 2 fight variations are still essentially the same. Powerful spells let you do strategy 1. Less powerful spells let you do strategy 2, where you just kite around the room and attack while they're recharging. But with that, I'll finish up the video. Hope that you learned something to help you, and I'll catch you in the next one.